Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Kombumerri people.
This is a Squiz Kids podcast. Your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you.
They've been feared in stories from every corner of the globe. They've appeared on flags, in festivals, and even on coins. And they're making a big comeback on the big screen, thanks to our friends Hiccup and Toothless. This is your Squiz Kids Shortcut to Dragons, the podcast where we dive into the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the big news stories. I'm Christy Kijarina.
And I'm Bryce Corbett.
Hey, Bryce, would you ever want a dragon as a pet? Imagine skipping the morning traffic by riding your own Toothless to work.
Ha! That would be epic. But I'd rather not end up as a crispy snack. I get why people are so into them, though. With Hiccup, Toothless, and the new How to Train Your Dragon movie hitting cinemas, dragons are definitely back in the spotlight.
They sure are.
Today, we'll take you through where dragons come from, who they are in legends, and why they continue to breathe fire into our imaginations. So, grab your sword, or maybe just a notepad, and let's get started.
Listen carefully, there's a quiz at the end.
Where?
So where do dragons come from? Well, no one has actually ever discovered a real dragon, not even in the deepest, darkest corners of the planet. But that hasn't stopped humans from dreaming them up.
Wait, what? No real dragons? Not even a tiny one?
Sorry, Bryce. Unless you count the Komodo dragon, but that's actually a huge lizard that's found in Indonesia. It's big and scary, but definitely no wings or fire breathing.
Ah, that's a bummer. I was hoping for at least a tiny flamethrower.
Well, one of the main reasons people started telling stories about dragons is because they came across these giant bones, like dinosaur fossils sticking out of cliffs or buried in the ground.
Right.
And before people knew about dinosaurs, they actually thought that these bones belonged to a massive, fearsome beast, a dragon.
Whoa.
And the Roman scholar Pliny the Elder even chimed in, noting that a dragon could strangle an elephant with its tail.
Oh, Pliny. It kind of makes sense, though. People saw a huge fossil in the ground and thought to themselves, yikes, a dragon skeleton.
Exactly, and it wasn't just in one place. In ancient China, there are heaps of mentions of dragon bones in ancient texts. People thought that they were the remains of long, snake-like dragons.
And in Europe, people imagined fire-breathing monsters that lived in caves.
Ooh.
It's pretty amazing how different cultures all came up with similar creatures. Scaly, fierce, and sometimes with wings, even though these cultures were thousands of kilometres apart from one another. It's like humans everywhere wanted to explain the unexplainable, and dragons fit the bill. But what about the dragons in stories, Christy? Who exactly are they?
Who?
Oh, Bryce, dragons show up in so many myths and legends around the world, and they're not always the same. So in Europe, there's a famous story about St. George's dragon, a giant fire-breathing beast that supposedly terrorised villages until a brave knight saved the day.
Ah, yes, the classic knight in shining armour versus dragon. I've seen that on so many movie posters.
Yeah, exactly. And in China, dragons are actually celebrated.
Oh yeah, of course, we see them in colourful New Year parades dancing through the streets. Aren't they considered wise and lucky?
Yeah, and get this, Chinese emperors even called themselves dragons because they believed it made them really powerful.
How cool. I'd love to be called the Bryce Dragon. Sounds pretty cool.
Very regal. Then there's Fafnir from Norse myths. Now, Fafnir was a dwarf who got so greedy that he turned into a dragon to guard his treasure. Talk about taking your savings account a little bit too seriously.
Yes. And in Japan, of course, dragons are often water spirits that live in rivers and lakes. They're usually helpful, controlling rain and protecting people from floods, according to legend. In fact, some legends even say that they can transform into humans.
Oh, wow, that's special. In modern times, though, we've got Smaug from The Hobbit, who hoarded his gold under a mountain. We've got Dragon from Shrek, who swallowed Lord Farquaad whole. And, of course, Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, who's become everyone's favourite dragon buddy. Dragons might have started as scary beasts, but over time they've actually turned into some of our most beloved characters.
And of course, I'm old enough to remember Pete's dragon, but that probably makes me seem like a ancient person. So from fire-breathing villains to cute, trainable friends, dragons sure get around. But Christy, why do humans love them so much?
Why?
Why are we fascinated by dragons? Well, that's the multi-million-dollar question, Bryce. Some experts think that dragons represent our biggest fears. You know, like the unknown, the unstoppable, the unbeatable. They're the ultimate challenge for heroes in stories.
Kind of like the final boss in a video game.
Oh, perfect analogy. But dragons also let us dream of magic and adventure. Who wouldn't want to have a scaly sidekick or soar through the skies on dragon-back never-ending story style? It's the ultimate escape from the everyday.
I loved that dragon in Neverending Story.
It was Falcor. He's one of my favourites.
Falcor's so cute. Now, of course, it is the ultimate escape from the everyday, and especially if your everyday involves homework and chores.
Totally.
And I guess hundreds of years ago, when people didn't have science to explain fossils or strange animal bones, dragons were a way to make sense of it all.
Exactly. Plus, they gave people a chance to tell stories about bravery and conquering the impossible.
And I suppose that's why they're still popular in books, movies, and video games, because they let us imagine, explore, and be heroes.
Oh, they really do. Dragons bring out our best, and sometimes our worst, but they're the perfect mix of mystery, magic, and mayhem.
And that's why dragons continue to breathe fire into our imaginations, from ancient myths to modern movies.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. In which country is the giant lizard named the Komodo dragon found? Yep, that's right. It's found in the country of Indonesia.
Question number 2. Who was the famous European knight who protected villages from a dragon? That's the brave and mighty St. George.
Question number 3. Now, we didn't tell you the answer to this one in the podcast, but I reckon you're probably smart enough to get it. In the Shrek movies, who is Dragon married to?
Oh, I know this one.
It's the most unlikely of answers, but somehow it works. Dragon is married to Donkey.
Yay! Well, guys, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us as we explored the who, what, where, when, why, and how of dragons.
Now get out there and have a most excellent dragony day.
Over and out.